Okay, good morning everyone in Hazak Baruch. Today's class is sponsored for the Refuah Shlema, for the success, for the safety, for the Hatzlacha, for the protection of all of Ham Yisrael, whether they're in Israel or in Chutz La'aretz, the hostages, and everyone should visit Hashem, be returned safely. And we should see Geula Shlema very soon. B'mira b'yameinu. Amen. Okay, my friends, let's jump right in. Perashat Haye Sarah. And today I would like to study with you, of course, the Ora Haye HaKadosh. And I want to see together how he understands this sale, the transaction of Me'arat HaMachpelah that Avraham purchases, that till today we go and we visit in Eretz Yisrael, in the city of Hebron. I'm sure anyone that's been to Israel, a must-see stop on the itinerary is Me'arat HaMachpelah, the cave that Avraham is buried in, that Sarah is buried in. It's called Machpelah for two reasons. Machpelah means double, kaful. Some say it was a double-decker. It had two levels. Some say it was called Machpelah because it had double pairs, two people buried in it, meaning husband and wife. And there were four pairs, right? Avraham and Sarah, and later on we're going to see Yitzchak and Rivka, and then Yaakov and Leah. And who was the fourth pair? The fourth pair, Adam and Chava, according to our tradition. That's why it's also called, besides for Hebron, anyone know else? What else the name of the city is? What other name does the city have? Besides for Hebron, the pasuk says right here, Bekiryat Arba, in the place of four, Arba, four, because there are four couples according to some. Okay, now let us see how Avraham goes about and purchasing the land. And he does a lot of things. There's a lot of things going on. Now again, we read the story, it looks like a very simple idea. And today's class is a little bit more technical. Okay, so just warning you, it's a technical class, but really of getting down into the legalities of the sale and what exactly Avraham is doing. Why is there so much elaboration? The pasuk's going back and forth, and it just seems to be a lot of extra words, unnecessary. Well, let's see the psukim together, and then we'll go back and explain. Vayakom Avraham me'al penei meto. So Avraham gets up from his dead. Sarah, she's dead. He gets up, and he now vaydaber el bnei Het. He goes to the people of Het, lemor, and he says to them, Ger v'toshav anochi imachem. He says, guys, you know I'm a ger and a toshav. I'm a stranger, and I'm a resident. What does that mean? Okay, he says, I'm a stranger, I'm a resident over here. Tenuli ahuzat keved. Please give me a piece of land. Ve'ekbera mitim lefanai, so I could bury my dead person from in front of me. Vayanu b'nei Het et Avraham lemordo. And the people of Het respond, Shema'enu, listen to us. Adoni, Lord, Nesi Elokim ata betochenu. You are a prince. B'mivhar kvarenu kivor medecha. Bury her wherever you want. Ish memenu et kevro lo yichle mecha mekevor metecha. Not one person here will dare stop you from burying your dead. Okay? So Avraham says, can I bury her? And they say, 100% go for it. Vayakom Avraham. So Avraham gets up. And the next pasuk, what should it say? He goes and he buries her, right? Okay? He bows. Vaydaber itam lemor. He says, Im yeshet nafshechem, please, if your soul allows, Likvoret metim lefanai, to bury this dead person. Shema'oni, listen to me. Ufig uli be'Efron ben Sohar, and please let me make a meeting between me and Ephron. What did Avraham want from Ephron? You asked them for land, and they said yes. They said bury her. Now he says, now I want to speak to Ephron. Ve'yiten li et me'arat ha'machpelah asher lo, and I want him to give me the me'arah, the cave Machpelah. This is the cave that he has, which is all the way at the end of his field. He'll give it to me for a lot of money if he wants. Right? That I could bury la'ahuzat kaver, so that I could have a place to bury. Now Ephron yoshev betoch bnei Het. Ephron is sitting there amongst the people. Vayan Ephron ha'Hiti et Avraham, and Ephron responds to Avraham be'oznei bnei Het, in front of everyone. And he says, Lo Adoni, no master. Shema'ini, listen to me. Ephron says, Hasadeh natati lach. The sadeh I gave to you. Hame'ara shel bo lecha natatiya. The cave is also yours. You have the cave, you have the field. Everyone's listening, everyone watching. You have all the witnesses. Everyone, look, I am happy to give it to you. Please just bury your dead. Avraham again bows down. And he says to Ephron, please would you just listen to me? Natati kesef hasadeh, I am giving you money for the field. Kach mimeni, please take it. Ve'egbera et meti shama, so I can bury my dead. Vaya'an Avraham et Avraham lemor, and Ephron responds to Avraham, and he says, okay, arba me'ot shekel kesef, give me 400, and we'll call it a deal. Avraham says, okay, and he hands him money in front of Be'ozneh ben Yechet, 400 kesef, over lasohir, 400 coins, okay, and it's a very, very detailed and seemingly exaggerated story, very elaborative and unnecessarily lengthy of all the back and forth. Right in the beginning, he said, can I bury my dead? And they said, yes. Avraham is not happy. He wants to speak to Ephron. And then Ephron says, take it, and Avraham's still not happy. And he wants to pay, and then finally he pays. So let us see together today the Or HaHayim, a few different pieces, and let's see what the time allows. Okay, again, more of a technical class today. Maybe at the end we'll share a nice thought, if there's a little bit of time. Al derech hamusar. Okay, fine. Vaydaber el bnei Het lemor. First thing, going back to the beginning. If you have a chumash, that's the best. Open it up to pasuk Gimal. He speaks to the bnei Het and he says. Now, anytime the Torah writes this phrase, Vaydaber lemor, you have to wonder, what does it mean? Like as an example, Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. God said to Moshe, lemor. What does that mean? What's the second lemor? That's never necessary. It's enough to just say, God said to Moshe, and then tell me what it said. Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe, period. What's Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe? Lemor. So over here, the Or HaHayim, you should know in general, he explains the word lemor means that I'm telling it to you to tell it over then to someone else. So God said to Moshe, lemor, that he should go and then relay the information to the Jewish people. The question is over here, Vaydaber el bnei Het lemor. Avraham speaks to the bnei Het to say. What is the word lemor here doing? Who did he want them to say it to? So he explains Or HaHayim. Letzatchehu sha'al tenu li'ahuzat. The problem here, he says, is that Avraham says tenu. What does it mean tenu? Give me. Nashma mitvarav. It sounds like from Avraham's words. Shemitratzehu b'chol makom shinula. That he'll take any place. Give me. Any land will do. I just need a piece of land to bury her. Right? Lazeh amara katuv lemor. And therefore Avraham says lemor. Perush. Lo zehu tachlit debur. This is not what I really mean to say. Ela hachana lemor mevukasho. But I'm only getting my feet wet, as we say. We're starting the conversation. And that's what the word over here, lemor, means. Usually lemor means I'm telling you to tell him. Here, lemor means Avraham says, I'm telling you guys something, but I want you to really understand that what I'm saying now is not what I actually mean. I'm only getting the conversation started, right? It's like a first meeting. First meeting. Really, the first meeting, you sit down with a buyer, you talk about nonsense, sports and weather, politics. But really, you want to get to the sale. So Avraham, he starts the conversation and says, Ve'yitnu, but he also wants them to know that he doesn't really want any land. There's a specific part of land that he wants. And therefore he says lemor, meaning that the initial request was not the ultimate message of Ephron. The initial request was paving the way to be able for him to say lemor what he wanted to later on, which is actually he wanted a specific field, the field of Ephron. Okay, so that's one idea. Or did it say another interpretation? What a weird thing. You want a field, right? Let me ask you a question. You want a house. You want to buy a house. What do you do if you want to buy a house? What do you do? Where do you go? You go to the owner. You go to the owner and say, hey, could I buy the field? It's a very, very simple way to deal with this, okay? It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need a lot of people involved, right? Keep it simple. You want a house, you go to the owner of the house. You want to buy an item from the store, just go to the owner. Go to the person that owns the item and say, hey, can I buy it? Yes or no? You don't have to get complicated. right? If I want to buy a house, I don't go to shul and I start speaking to everyone in shul, say, hey, everyone, announcement, I'm interested in buying the house on this corner. Could you all help me out? What are you doing? Why in the world is Avraham over here having a whole conversation with all Bnei Het? Okay? Why is he having a conversation with all of Bnei Het? If a person wants to buy a little piece of land to plow or to bury a dead person or to do whatever, you have to now, he's quoting, he's being over here, he's alluding to the pasuk, but does he have to shake all of the earth and its inhabitants? Do you have to make such a whole big deal? And therefore, explains Or Haye. Let me explain to you. What Avraham says, Lemor, Perush, Lo letzorech 400 karka lekvor Sarah. To bury Sarah, I don't need to speak to all of you. Right? Ella lemor ha'amur be'inyan shekana merat ha'machpelah asher en aruch aleha. But what he wants over here is I'm speaking to you, really, why am I including everyone over here in this conversation? הוא צריך לדבר לכולן לכל ההמצאות כדי שיועיל קנייתה כפי הדין. Rather, Avraham is lemor. What does it mean lemor over here? He's saying to them publicly. Lemor out loud so that he can later on make sure that this sale of the machpelah is going to be something that's not going to be at all disputed. And Avraham is going to go through a lot of maneuvering and dancing in between the raindrops to make sure that he doesn't have any issues. And we're going to see soon in a minute, Or Haye is going to elaborate on what exactly he means. But the idea over here is, again, Avraham said to them, Lemor, he says it out loud in front of everyone so that there's no confusion, so that there's 100% clarity and transparency on the fact that he's going to be the owner at the end of all of this. That is second idea. And now that's why he wants everyone involved. He wants everyone involved, and we'll see soon why, but he wants everyone involved on purpose. Another question that really the listener, the reader says, how did Avraham want a matana? Tenu, what is tenu? Tenu means give. Really, Avraham, did he want him to give it to him for free as a gift? He didn't want it to give it. He wanted to buy it. He shouldn't have said tenu. He should have said, what should he have said instead of tenu? Sell me. How do you say sell me? Michru. Michru. Sell me the land. Why does Avraham say tenu li? You understand? This is, and really, not only that, but in general, there's a concept in Judaism that taking gifts is not a good thing. Yes, I mean, we don't speak about this a lot, but it's not a good thing in life to be someone who takes. Don't be a taker. Don't look for gifts. It's not a good thing to receive gifts. Now again, it's your birthday, they give you a gift, happy birthday. But in life, we shouldn't walk around expecting, entitled, looking to get. That's not a way to live. We should be looking to give. Soneh matanot yihye. If a person hates gifts, they'll live. The idea of living means giving. The more I'm looking to give, the more alive I am. The more I look to get, the more of a taker I am. The less alive I am. Right? We said last week a beautiful line. I believe it was Winston Churchill. That we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. And the idea of a life is to do, to give, to serve in a marriage, in a relationship. We should never be asking, what am I going to receive? We should be asking, what am I going to do? How can I serve? How can I help? Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Yes? So Avraham Avinu, why is he looking to get for free a matana, a field? That's not a Jewish concept, right? And therefore, the answer says, of course, Avraham didn't want it for free. That's why Avraham says, lemor. Avraham says, listen to what I'm telling you, lemor, but listen even deeper to what I'm telling you. Meaning, I'm going to say one thing, but really, I really mean another. And as the conversation goes out to continue. Okay, fine. So he then says, Ger v'toshav anochi imachem. Okay? He says, I'm a stranger and I'm also a resident. What did Avraham mean by this? That he's a stranger. Why would him being a stranger be the reason that they should now help him out? Right? If you're a stranger, then I shouldn't help you out. What did Avraham mean by saying I'm a stranger? Right? If someone comes and says, hey, hey, we don't know each other, so please do me a favor. If we don't know each other, then I'm not going to help you. So it's the wrong way to start the conversation. Ger, opposite. If you're trying to get them to help you, you should say, we know each other, we're best friends from diapers, I've been there for you when you needed me, we're allies, right? Hook a brother up, something. But Efron says, Ger, I'm a stranger. Ta'am, what does he mean by this? He explains halachically. The Rambam writes, in the laws of giving a ger toshav. Ger toshav. What's a ger toshav? A ger toshav is a non-Jew who keeps the 7 Noahide laws. Basically, a good guy. Okay? A good goy. A good guy. Okay? If you have a good goy, they're allowed to live in the land of Israel with you. And, which is an amazing thing, as Jews, we never impose our religion. We don't require anyone to convert. You could stay a non-Jew. You don't have to become Jewish. You could stay a goy, and by the way, you could even go to Olam Haba as a goy. Goyim have Olam Haba, right? Other religions don't say this. Other religions, you have to convert. If you don't convert, it's good, but you're not going to get ultimate salvation. For Judaism, you don't have to convert. That's why actually when a guy comes to convert, we push them away. We tell them, what are you coming for? You don't have to become Jewish. Other maybe religions, they have signs, interested in being, Protestant or this or that, come on in. There's no sign outside our synagogue or any synagogue looking to be Jewish. We're not looking for people to convert. We're trying to keep our own, okay? We're putting tefillin on Jews, but we're not looking to bring in new Jews, okay? So Avraham over here, the Rambam writes that a ger toshav, actually, it's a mitzvah to give him gifts, to help him out. Okay? Because he lives here and he's keeping to the mitzvot, and you should sustain him, give him life. If he needs money, help him out. It's a mitzvah to give him. Okay? And this is a very rational thing. You should know, in general, all the mitzvot of the Torah are rational. Some of them we understand, some of them we don't, but every one makes sense. Or Hayyim says right here, every single one makes sense. 100% makes sense. Okay? So, if every mitzvah makes sense, then it would derive from that Avraham that's what he's saying. He says, I'm a ger. I'm a stranger. I live here. And it makes sense as a stranger that you take care of me. This is the rule. Okay? Fine. But also he says, toshav. Even though I'm a ger, I'm not a complete stranger. I do live here. And therefore, I have this. I'm in this, category of people that you should help rationally. Someone lives in your country, you should take care of them. Fine. And then he says, what does he want to do? Please help me bury this dead person. Meaning, not just a dead person, but it's a dead person in front of me. Milefanai. She's dead. She's right here. What did Avraham mean by that? Avraham over here is setting up the playing field. Avraham, he's preparing his next sentence. As of now, all he said was, give me a place to bury. Now, again, what does Avraham really want? He really, from the beginning of the conversation, he wants me'arat ha'machpelah. And he knows that. His words are, I want a field. But like he said, lemor. Listen to what I'm saying, but really I'm going to tell you something else in a minute. And he's just getting the conversation started. Okay, he's getting the engines, he's getting the muscles, what's it called? He's getting them active. Okay, he's stretching. Avraham is getting in the conversation with them. And he says, give me a field. But really he knows he's going to want that field. Me'arat ha'machpelah. And when that happens, Avraham from now is anticipating that they're going to realize that he's going to pay a crazy amount of money. And they're going to say to themselves, why is Avraham doing this? Why? Halo davaru, this is a wonder. Vadai must be. Ra'abo davar gadol, must be Avraham knows something that we don't. If a guy comes, if your house is worth $1 million, and a guy comes and says, I want your house for 10 million. So right away you put the brakes on. You say, whoa, time out. Why do you want my house for 10 million? It's worth 1. What do you know that I don't? Is there, right, gold? Is there oil? What? Did my house just go up yesterday? Does the embassy in somewhere in the world want to buy this house, and they're going to buy it for 50 next week, so you're buying it from me from 10? What do you know that I don't? There has to be information, because you wouldn't just buy something that's worth 1 for 10. And Avraham Avinu over here, he's going to buy a piece of junk land, cave, for 400 shekel. Why? They're going to be suspicious. And Avraham anticipates their suspicion before he drops the bomb. So he says, you know what? The truth is, guys, Ekbera metim lefanai. Right in the beginning of the conversation, before even anything happens, before he specifies which field, right in the first sentence, he says, guys, just give me a place to bury this dead person in front of me. And he's putting a lot of emphasis, exclamation point, on the dead person in front of me. Perush, meaning, the reason I'm desperate is because I need to bury someone. Im lo hayam eto, if I didn't have this, right? Lo haya koneh davar, I wouldn't buy anything. I'm not looking to buy land. I'm not looking to make money here. I don't need to just invest in real estate. I need to bury my dead person. And therefore, later on, Avraham already plants the seed that later on, when he does buy the actual Me'arat HaMachpelah from Ephron, no one's going to start being suspicious anymore. They know that he's desperate. He's buying something because he needs to bury, and he'll take whatever price. I'm desperate, right? If a flight is worth $100, and a guy comes now and says, right, I'll pay you $1,000 for your flight. You know the guy is desperate. Why are you desperate? Because it's a personal matter. If you're desperate because you want to get out of the country because there's a war, so that's something that also interests me. But if you're looking to get out of the country because you have to bury someone, that doesn't apply to me. So I'm happy to give you my ticket for $1,000. And this is what Avraham is saying. This is a personal matter here. I have a dead person, milifanai, and I really just need to get moving. And therefore he's trying to hopefully calm them down from getting suspicious later on. Okay. Well, they respond now. So far Avraham said, I need a field. He didn't say which one. I need a field just to bury this dead person. Right? Hot potato, hot dead. The body's still hot. I need to bury them fast. Yalla, moving. Okay. Then, vaya'anu. Now they say to him finally. What do they say? Shema'enu. Listen to us. Adoni, our master. Nesi Elokim Adonchenu. You are a very important person. Fine. What exactly did they mean by this? What did they mean? Nesi Elokim and Shema'enu. So let's see over here, Ora Hayim. Letzad ki lo rabim yedaberu. Okay? I mean, how many people speak to Avraham at once? How many guys can talk to Avraham at once? One guy could speak to 100, but 100 can't speak to one. So you see the problem Ora Hayim has over here? So how did they respond to Avraham? So that's what the pasuk is saying. Vaya'anu. So they answer him, lemor lo. They answer him to tell him. And Ora Hayim explains that they first had a meeting by themselves, discussing amongst themselves what they should say. Lemor lo, and they said to one guy to tell this to Avraham. Okay? Fine. That's what it means. Vaya'anu b'nechaytat Avraham lemor lo. So they discussed amongst themselves, and then they relayed it to Avraham via one and only one person. Fine. And they said to him, Shema'enu. Listen to us. What did that mean, listen to us? That means they're telling him, Atat tivhar hakever hamuvhar. You pick, Avraham, whichever one you want. You don't really need to ask permission. You don't have to own a field. You don't have to own anything. You just pick. And we give you permission. And no one will tell you boo. No one will stop you. And Avraham seemingly should be very happy with this. You say, okay, thank you. But what does Avraham say back? He says, if you guys will only please listen to me and give me a meeting with Ephron. Look at this unbelievable Ora Hayim. Interesting. And it's beautiful to see how he brings halacha into the practical stories that happened historically. To understand what's going on, he says, now with this next layer, the Gemara, he takes us to a Gemara Masechet Baba Batra. Anyone that learned Baba Batra, chapter 3, is the chapter of Hazaka. Anyone ever heard of a Hazaka? Hazaka means that you have assumed ownership. Literally from the word mahzik, you're holding. That means, if I have a watch on, you come and say, hey, that's my watch. Who's the onus? Who is the burden of proof on, me or you? I'm holding a watch. You come and say, hey, that's mine. Who has to prove it? Me or you? You have to prove it because I'm the one holding it. I have a hazaka. I'm holding the watch. Okay? There is something called in land a hazaka. That means, the same way with a watch, if you have a land that you're holding, that you're the owner of, if you're living in a place, then after a certain amount of time, it becomes assumed that you're the owner. Okay? With land, you need a 3-year hazaka. If you are on land for 3 years and no one objects, then even if you no longer have a proof of sale, you are the assumed owner. Now what happens like this? Imagine I own land in Israel and you go to Israel and you live on my land for 3 years. And let's assume that it's land, Israel, I could hear about it. I have people back and forth from here to Israel. People for sure told me, hey, Ariel, someone's living in your house. Right? For 3 years, someone's living there. People tell me. I didn't object. I didn't stop them. I didn't go and kick him out. Why didn't I kick him out? So it must be I didn't kick him out because I sold it to him. It's his. And therefore, after 3 years, with taxes, there's a concept. You have to hold on to receipts for a certain amount of years. And with halakha, it's the same thing. When you buy a land, you get the deed, you get the title. But you're not expected to hold on to it forever. People throw it away, people lose things. After 3 years, it's assumed, people throw away their deed. And therefore, if 3 years pass, the guy who was living there for 3 years no longer is required to show proof of purchase. The fact that he lived there is the proof for 3 years. And no one argued on him. And no one fought him. This is what's called a hazaka. Okay? Now, the Gemara says, Hani Bey Resh Galuta. These very, very influential people of the Resh Galuta, the exilarch. Okay, these were a group of people that had, they were officially recognized leaders of the Jewish community. Okay, they're people that are very well connected to the government. They're called Resh Galuta. The Gemara says, if a Resh Galuta goes on a land for 3 years, Lama Hazakinan Lan, that does not establish a chazakah for him. If you're a very important person, you cannot establish a chazakah by being there for 3 years. Again, a regular person, if you're there for 3 years, you're the owner. But if you're a very important person, then there's no proof that you bought it just for the fact that you're there for 3 years. How come? Because you're very strong. You're very influential. That's why you have it. That's why no one argued. But really, it's my land. If I'm a peasant, if I'm a regular guy, if I'm an average bourgeoisie, and you're someone very important, very high up, right? And you just go and sit on my land, what am I going to do? How am I going to fight you on it? How am I going to argue? I can't argue. Usually, I'm supposed to say, hey, get the police involved. But here, I can't get the police involved because you are the police. Yeah? And therefore, halachically speaking, if a Resh Galuta, if someone very strong takes possession of a land, even after 3 years, he must show proof of purchase. If he doesn't show proof of purchase, then the fact that he lived on it for 3 years proves nothing. And the original guy that has the deed could come and say, I never sold it, it's still mine. Okay? That's a halakha. Very interesting halakha. And therefore, look at what Bnei Chet say. They say to Avraham, Nesi Elokim ata beduchenu. Avraham, you are a prince. You are a very important person. No one's going to stop you. What do they mean by that? You're a very important person. No one's going to stop you. Seemingly, they meant it in a very good way. A compliment. But Or HaHaim says it could be meaning two things. Maybe it means Gadolu. Maybe it means he's very, very strong. And he's very influential and powerful. Avraham was. And you could do whatever you want and no one's going to object. No one could object. And therefore, En moche be'ado. No one's going to dare challenge Avraham because no one has the power to take him up to do anything about it. And if that's the case, what they're really saying is, Avraham, do what you want, because we can't stop you. You're so powerful. And therefore, ein lo din hazakah ba'kever. But then, if he does that, then his chazakah, the fact that he buried Sarah there, the fact that Abraham owns it, is no longer worth anything. He doesn't really own it. He only took it by force. And the moment they become more powerful than him, then they're going to kick him out and probably remove the corpse from its grave, right? Exhume the corpse from its grave. But he says over here, so this is all one way of possibly understanding what they meant. Avraham, you're very, very important here. So do what you want. Meaning we don't really approve of this. That's one way. There is another way. And then he's saying, Avraham, we love you. En lachush, nothing to worry about. You're an amazing guy. You to do whatever you want. You want it, it's yours. And don't worry about the idea of having to take it by force, that we're going to come later on and say we didn't mean it. You're different than the Reish Galuta, than the Exilarch case. Because there we're talking about people that are dishonest, degenerates. But you, Avraham, Nasi Elokim, you are important. You have integrity. You are righteous. Tzaddik, Naki, you're clean. And therefore no one here is going to dare think that you stole it against our will. And therefore it's yours, and it's going to be fully yours. Once you take hold of it for 3 years, no one's going to argue on you. It's 100% yours. And therefore, 2 ways for Avraham to really understand what they mean by this. He's not sure. So what does he say? Back? He says, okay, if that's the case, let me have a meeting with Ephron, ve'yiten li et me'arat ha'machpelah, and let him give me. Let him give me the me'arah. Why does Abraham want it as a gift? Give me. I thought he's buying it. So look what he says. Hagam shenotel mimenu dameha. Even though Abraham knows he's going to pay a lot of money for it, he still doesn't say sell me. He says give me. Why? And another thing, he says yiten li et me'arat ha'machpelah. He says let him give it to me. Betochechem, amongst all of you. Why does Abraham want it to be amongst everyone? Going back to what we said originally, we started the class with this, that Abraham is doing it publicly. Why is it public? And this is now going to put everything together. He says, Nithakem Abraham was very, very wise. And he made sure to purchase the me'arah beseder she'en aharav irur. Abraham wanted to make sure to buy the land, and there would be no objection later on. There would be no irur. Irur is no room for anyone to come and challenge it. Abraham did everything over here to make sure that it's going to be 100% clean. So what does he do? He says, our rabbis tell us, Ephron miyamav lo ra'a b'me'ara. Ephron never really knew what the me'ara had. When Ephron looked at the cave, he just saw choshech behala. He just saw darkness. He just saw chaos. Ephron was unaware of its true value. He didn't really know what was there. Imken, if that's the case, my friends, the truth is, let's ask a real question. Halachically speaking, if you buy something from somebody and they don't know what they're really selling you, is the sale valid? Let's say I own a piece of Picasso, but I'm a novice. I don't understand art, and I sell it to you for $5. I think it's a piece of junk. Is it a real sale? Is it a valid sale? If I don't really know what I'm doing, right? Or maybe Picasso, yes, because you should have seen. But let's say there's something that I sell you, and behind it that I never knew, there was something hidden under. Let's say I sell you a mattress, and in the mattress there's money, and I didn't know. Who's the rightful owner of that money? Really, this is what we call in halacha mekah ta'ut. This is a faulty transaction. I didn't know what I was really selling you. It's not fair. If I knew, I wouldn't have sold it. If Ron didn't really know, in a way, he could maybe come and say, Abraham, I never intended to tell you Adam and Chava. I didn't know any of that. Give it back. Right? And really the halacha is le'olam chozer, forever. You could go back 100,000, 10,000 years later and say, give it back. And therefore Abraham would never be able to have a real ownership of this land. And even though there's a rule in ona'ala karkaot, that in general, the idea of overcharging doesn't apply to land, I'm allowed to overcharge when it comes to land. When it comes to possessions, you're not allowed to really overcharge more than a sixth, more than a certain amount. There's a maximum of how much you could charge, which again is a complicated halacha. But when it comes to land, there's no such thing. I could charge whatever I want for land. There's no cap. So Avraham technically could say, listen, I took advantage of you, but you're allowed to take advantage when it comes to land. However, there is an opinion in the Yerushalmi that that's only up to 50% of the value. More than that, you cannot overcharge. And really, the land is worth millions, and Avraham only bought it for 400. That's one problem that Avraham had. And there is another problem. Shema yir'eru. Maybe people will come after the sale and say, hey, we're neighbors. We get it first. There is a rule in law, in property, real estate, that when you want to buy something, when you want to sell something, you have to give first rights to the neighbors. If the neighbor is willing to buy it for the same price as a random buyer, the neighbor gets priority. It's called bar mitzar, neighboring field. Okay? It's a halacha. And therefore Avraham was worried, maybe the neighbors will come later and fight me on it, or maybe someone has a lien on it that I'm unaware of. There could be a million things that go on when you buy land, right? You hire lawyers just for this reason, to do all of these background checks and title checks and everything, right? Liens. And therefore Avraham, very wisely, look what he does. He's fixing everything. He says, give it to me and sell. He wants both. Why? He says, Efron, I want you to give me the land. I'm going to buy it, but I'm going to buy it in a way that's actually you giving it to me as a gift. You see, if I pay for it with money, then maybe later on you could say I want to undo the sale. But I don't want it as a sale. I'm going to give you money, but I want you to give it to me as a gift. Because a gift you can never undo. And what kind of transaction does he do over here? He doesn't do a sale purchase transaction. If you have land and I give you money, so I'm giving you $1,000 and you give me the item. So I bought it with money. And Avraham, I never realized this. Or Haye says it here. Avraham, although he gave money to Efron, he says it wasn't as a form of money. It wasn't as a sale. Rather, he was trying to do over here what's called a kinyan halipin, a transaction through the method of halipin. Okay, that means halipin is a interesting type of exchange. It's not a sale. A sale is I give you a book, you give me $20. That's a sale. Halipin is I give you a book, you give me a pen. Exchanging. And when you're doing halipin, really, what I'm getting doesn't have to be anywhere near the value of what I'm giving. In a sale, it has to be equal. The book is 20 and I'm giving you 20. Okay, so we're even, 20 for 20. Halipin, I could give you a peanut. I could give you a pen. I could give you a 35-cent item. I could give you anything, a needle. The moment you take it, whatever we agree upon becomes mine. It could be a book, it could be a house. Halipin. I give you an item, and now, by the way, this is done at every wedding. If you ever saw a ketubah signing, the rabbi will say, okay, please stand up. We're going to do two forms of kinyan. There are two ways in which the kala is going to purchase or gain possession or gain the rights to everything in this ketubah of giving her time and giving her attention and food and clothing. Yeah, everything here is going to be transferred to the wife. And that's done in a kinyan halipin. The rabbi says to the guy, pick up the pen, and the moment you take the pen, all of this goes to the girl. Right? That is what's going on. No, not the breaking of the plate. That's something else. Okay? The moment the khatan picks up the pen, this is halipin. Okay? So he says, I want you to take money, but not as a purchase. I'm not paying. Because if I pay, then maybe you could say, oh, I didn't know Adam and Chava, and you could come later on and claim mekah ta'ut, faulty transaction. I don't want any of that. I want it, but as a gift. But don't worry, I'm going to give you money for it. But I want it as a full gift. Now, there is one problem. There is one problem here. You're not allowed to do, as a kinyan chalipin, I could give you anything in return for that exchange, but there's one thing you cannot use. You cannot use money. You can't use money as chalipin. Money is money. If I give you money, it's a sale. You can't use money in this way of exchange. And Avraham, he uses money. He gives Ephron 400 shekel. So how do you get around this problem? But says Ora Hayim. But you obviously didn't learn the Gemara in Masechet Bechorot. Because the Gemara says, Masechet Bechorot, page 50, black and white, it says over there, Amar Rabbi Hanina, says Rabbi Hanina. Every time the Torah writes the word shekel, it's talking about slaim, it's talking about minted coins. Chutz, except for one time. Shkalim ha'amurim be'Ephron. The coins that are used in Ephron were not minted. Hem kantarin, it was pure blocks of silver. It wasn't money, it was silver, which is what the pasuk means, over la soher. It's used in every place in the world. No money is used anywhere. Dollar is only used in America. You take $1 to Europe, you need to exchange it for euro. Which coin is accepted anywhere and everywhere? Must be it wasn't a minted coin. It was a silver, piece of silver. He gave him 400 pieces of silver. Those are acceptable anywhere, and that's not money. And that's why Avraham on purpose gave him silver, because he couldn't give money, or else if you give money, you're back to the problem that Ephron may later on renege and change his mind. Wow. Now, that explains why Avraham says, give it to me. Because he didn't want to buy it, he wanted it as a gift, but he was going to give money. And finally, he says also, everyone needs to be present, because I want to make sure no neighbor wants it. I want to make sure that no deed, that there's no lien on it by somebody else. Avraham is over here covering all of the holes. Really, really beautiful of how to understand the sale of the Me'arat HaMachpelah. And really, he says, I want it to be la'ahuzat kever. He says, I want to buy it, but I want to buy it for an estate for burial. He doesn't mention Sarah. He didn't say, I want to bury Sarah. He says, I want to buy it to bury. Why? Why doesn't he say Sarah? One last piece of here. He says, because if you would have said Sarah, then what would Ephron do? You would say, okay, take it and bury Sarah. And afterwards, no one else, please step on my field. If you step on my field, you're going to wear and tear, you're going to ruin the field. You have to get to the cave, which is in the middle of the field. But I don't want, no one should trespass my field to get to the cave. And therefore, Avraham didn't say, give it for Sarah. He says, I want to just bury in general. Today Sarah, next week someone else. I want it. And Ephron now knows that means people are going to need to be walking through the field. And he eventually says, you know what, Avraham, take the field and take the me'ara and give me 400 and we'll call it even. And ultimately, Avraham walks away laughing. And the truth is, Ephron walked away laughing also. And the Gemara learns from here, by the way, just to end with a nice little musar. The Gemara learns from here, from the word kach, the word we saw, the word take from here 100 times, we saw it right here. Take. From here the Gemara learns that a man, when he takes a lady, ki kach ish isha, when a man marries a woman, one of the ways that he can marry her, one of the ways that he can affect the marriage is through money. Just like Avraham gave money, so too we could give money for marriage to be done. Right? There are different ways that you do marriage. But one of them is money. And it's learned from right here. Today, we do money. The guy takes the ring or the coin and he says, Haye at mekudesh li, behold, you are, right, sanctified unto me. And he gives money to the lady. Today we do kinyan kesef. It's learned from Ephron. Why in the world are we learning from Ephron about how to affect a marriage? What's the connection between marriage and death? Now some people say, Rabbi, what's not the connection? Marriage, burial, death, you're burying one person. Marriage, you're burying two. Okay, write these ones down, people. Okay, but that's one idea. If you appreciate morbid humor. But there's a beautiful idea. Ephron, he walked away saying, wow, I got the deal of a lifetime. Honey, you don't know. That piece of junk land over there? Remember that one that I was trying to sell for decades that no one wanted? I just sold it for 400 shekel. We're rich. They say Jews are good at business, but I don't know. That guy Avraham, I don't think he knows what he's doing. And then All of a sudden, what happens? Abraham, he turns around and he says, Baruch Hashem, I got the deal of a lifetime. Wow, look what I got. I got the burial place of Adam HaRishon. Each one walked away feeling like they got the better end. You understand? And the Torah is teaching us that for a marriage to be successful, this is the mentality, this is the attitude. Each one has to feel like, I'm lucky to be here. I'm so lucky that you're with me, that you said yes. I was a nobody. I had no bracha. I had nothing without you. Unfortunately, it's not always like that. Sometimes a spouse will say, you were zero without me. I made you. You were no one. I now look at you. Because of me, you have money. Because of me, you have status. Because of me, you're popular. You're so lucky you married me. Where would you be without me? You're unorganized. You would be down. Look at your siblings. Look at where they are. You would be just like them if you never married me, right? Hello. That's not a good recipe. For marriage, we got to learn from Ephron and Avraham. Each one felt like they got the deal of the century. And when we look at our marriages, at our relationships, at all of life like this, realizing, Baruch Hashem, this is what I have. These are the kids that Hashem gave me. Baruch Hashem, they're beautiful. Doesn't help to compare. Today we have TMC, too many choices. Today we have this, that, the other. Don't compare. You go on a date, the worst thing you can do is ever compare. There's a better girl, a prettier girl, a richer guy. Let me tell you something. If you think that there's better, you're right. There is better. There's always better. There's always going to be someone prettier. There's always going to be someone richer. There's always going to be someone more popular. And this is such a big crisis, such a big problem right now. People comparing rings. I only got a 4-carat. My sister got a 4.5. And it creates jealousy. It creates bitterness. We could have a beautiful house, but we're bitter because we're looking at the fact that we don't have the next house. We're bitter because we don't have the newer car. We're bitter because we don't have that. We're bitter because we have that. And life is amazing, but we're looking at the fact that we feel like we just got so sour. We feel so sour because we got suckered out of life. What a sad way to live. To feel like I should have that. I should be better. I should do that. To realize in life, I have what I need. Baruch Hashem. I'm lucky. I'm so blessed. My wife, I'm so lucky to have her. Where would I be without her? I'll be zero. She pushes me to be better. Thank God I have her in my life. If not for her, I would be selfish, arrogant, lazy. Baruch Hashem. I'm so lucky I have my husband. How much he takes care of me. How much he does for me. Right? To look at the good instead of looking at what we're not getting from the relationship. To look at how we are benefiting. That is the key, the recipe to success. That's why we take our cue in the marriage from Avraham and Ephron. Okay, my friends, we'll stop over here. Have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.